Hello, dear learners. Welcome to today's English lesson. Are you ready to learn something new and interesting today? Yes, you are, and I am glad to help you learn. This is JHS 3 English Lesson 1. We are going to learn about relative clauses today. Yes, and this lesson will be interesting because you are going to help me make it so by participating. Now, get your books and pens as we begin today's lesson. Learners, what comes to mind when you hear the word clause? Very good. Yes, we explained a clause as a group of related words that has a subject and a predicate. The predicate usually begins with a verb in the sentence. In a clause, there is a subject and a predicate. Now, get your pens and books ready and write the sentences down and identify the subject and the predicates. My dear learners, open to your worksheet. Page 1, Activity 1, as I read through the sentences. The boy likes reading in the library. The boy likes reading in the library. 2. The secretary attended the meeting. The secretary attended the meeting. 3. George drives his father's car. George drives his father's car. And 4. Teachers are great nation builders. Teachers are great nation builders. Good job done. I knew you will identify them easily. Now, let us identify the subject and the predicate in each sentence. In sentence 1, the subject is the boy. The boy. The predicate is likes reading in the library. Likes reading in the library. The subject in sentence 2 is the secretary. The secretary. The predicate is attended the meeting. Attended the meeting. In sentence 3, the subject is George. George. And the predicate is drives his father's car. Drives his father's car. Good job done. The above underlined expressions are clauses which begin with a verb. As I mentioned earlier, today's lesson is going to be on one of the types of clauses, and this is a relative clause. Have you read or heard anything about relative clause before? If yes, then tell your friend about it. Relative clause is a subordinate and dependent clause that describes or qualifies a noun or pronoun. Relative clause is a subordinate and dependent clause that describes or qualifies a noun or pronoun. For example, that is the boy who beat his mother. That is the boy who beat his mother. So, the relative clause who beat his mother is describing the noun boy. Learners, identify the relative pronouns and the nouns that they refer to in the sentences below. This is the boy who stole my watch. This is the boy who stole my watch. Here is the book that I borrowed. Here is the book that I borrowed. Show your answers to your caregivers.
Pause the playing, it's time for learning. The future is calling on the radio. Are you hearing? No, are you listening? School, are you missing it? Call your sister, auntie, cousin, ask them, are you listening? Ghana Learning Radio is designed to engage the children in fun and exciting ways. So mothers, fathers, and children, let's all gather around the radio.
Good. I hope you had the following answers. The relative pronoun who refers to the noun boy. The relative pronoun that refers to the noun book. Relative clauses are subordinate or dependent clauses which do not make complete sense when it is said. It has to depend on a main clause to express complete meaning. For example, she is the girl who stays at Atonsu. She is the girl who stays at Atonsu. The main clause is she is the girl. The subordinate clause is who stays at Atonsu. Relative clause always begin with a relative pronoun. Let us give some examples of relative pronouns. Excellent. I'm happy with examples you just gave. Some examples of relative pronouns are who, that, which, whom, and whose. It is important to note that these relative pronouns are used for specific persons or things. The relative pronoun who and whom for humans, that is, when the subject is used for humans, that is, the name of a person. The relative pronoun which is used for animals or things. The relative pronoun that can be used to refer to both humans and non-humans. Whose as a relative pronoun is used to show possession or ownership. Let us look at these examples. This is the girl whose bag was stolen. This is the girl whose bag was stolen. Learners, can we identify the relative clause in the sentence? This is the girl whose bag was stolen. The relative clause is whose bag was stolen. Example 2. She is the lady whom I admire. She is the lady whom I admire. The relative clause here is whom I admire. Example 3. Mr. Akowa is the head teacher who caned me. Mr. Akowa is the head teacher who caned me. The relative clause here is who caned me. What have we learnt about relative clauses today? Yes, you said it right. They are subordinate and dependent clauses that describes or qualify a noun. If you said any of these two, then you are correct. If you couldn't, just write it down in your books to revise when we are done. Learners, write 2 examples of sentences which contain relative clauses using any of the relative pronouns linked. Show your sentences to your caregivers. Now, listen to these examples as I read. You may write them down.
Pause the playing, it's time for learning. The future is calling on the radio. Are you hearing? No, are you listening? School, are you missing it? Call your sister, auntie, cousin, ask them, are you listening? Ghana Learning Radio is designed to engage the children in fun and exciting ways. So mothers, fathers, and children, let's all gather around the radio.
The comment that he made bothered me. The comment that he made bothered me. The relative clause used was that he made. The relative clause used was that he made. Example 2. Jeffrey saw the book which was on the table. Jeffrey saw the book which was on the table. The relative clause used was which was on the table. She is the lady whom I talked about. She is the lady whom I talked about. The relative clause is whom I talked about.
Pause the playing, it's time for learning. The future is calling on the radio. Are you hearing? No, are you listening? School, are you missing it? Call your sister, auntie, cousin, ask them, are you listening? Ghana Learning Radio is designed to engage the children in fun and exciting ways. So mothers, fathers, and children, let's all gather around the radio.
Welcome back from the short break. I believe you are ready, just as I am, to learn the types of relative clauses we have. Well, there are two types of relative clauses. They are the defining and non-defining relative clauses. How many types of relative clauses do we have? Yes, we said two, and they are defining and non-defining relative clauses. Good. To define something means good. It means explaining or giving more information about something. Defining relative clauses give more information to make the noun or pronoun clear. It tells exactly what the person or thing is or does. Let us consider these examples. 1. He is the gentleman who insulted the president. He is the gentleman who insulted the president. 2. I lost the ring which he gave me. I lost the ring which he gave me. 3. Those are the boys that saved Mr. Mensah's life. Those are the boys that saved Mr. Mensah's life. In the above examples, we noticed that the information in the clauses are important and help us to know the exact persons being talked about. Take sentence 1 for example. Who insulted the president? Gives us an important information about the gentleman or tells us what the gentleman did. Yes, well done. The non-defining relative clause does not explain the noun which comes before it, but gives additional information about the noun. Note, the main clause will make complete sense without the non-defining relative clause. The noun that the non-defining relative clause describes is usually something that is well known, or at least known to the one listening. Non-defining relative clause is identified by the use of commas at the beginning and end of the clause. Let us look at some examples of non-defining relative clauses. 1. Our father, who is a teacher, won a presidential award. Our father, who is a teacher, won a presidential award. 2. Asamoah Gyan, who is the captain of the Black Stars, left for China. Asamoah Gyan, who is the captain of the Black Stars, left for China. 3. Donald Trump, who is the President of the United States, likes soccer. Donald Trump, who is the President of the United States, likes soccer. Note, the underlined are non-defining relative clauses because we already know the noun or subject the speaker is talking about. Let us look at one of the examples above. Donald Trump, who is the President of the United States, likes soccer. The underlined clause only gives us extra information about the noun, Donald Trump, because everybody knows Donald Trump to be the President of the United States. It is important to note that in writing, non-defining relative clauses are always introduced by comma and ended with comma. This means the sentence will still be complete without it. How many types of relative clauses have we discussed? 2. Mention them. Defining and non-defining relative clauses. I believe we can tell our caregivers what we said about these 2 types of relative clauses. It's time to rack your brains as you try your hands on these sentences. Get your pens and books ready.
Break over, please.
Now write the following sentences and identify the type of relative clauses used in each sentence. Listen carefully and write the sentences. My dear learners, we are going back to page 1 of your workbook, activity 2. Number 1. The teacher who trains the learners is absent from school. The teacher who trains the learners is absent from school. 2. The cat that sleeps on the bench is dead. The cat that sleeps on the bench is dead. 3. Stone Boy, who is a reggae dancehall artist, has been honored by the President of Ghana. Stone Boy, who is a reggae dancehall artist, has been honored by the President of Ghana. Here are the answers to the questions asked. 1. Who trains the teacher is a defining relative clause. 2. That sleeps on the bench is also defining relative clause. 3. Who is a reggae dancehall artist is a non-defining relative clause. In today's lesson, we discussed relative clauses and how to identify them in sentences. We also discussed the 2 types of relative clauses, which are defining and non-defining relative clauses. I hope you will be able to use them appropriately in speech and in writing. Thank you for your participation in today's lesson. In our next lesson, we shall discuss perfect tenses. So read on the various verb tense forms and how they can be identified in sentences. Learners, until we meet again, it's bye-bye for now. Stay blessed.